All right, let's talk about AI. We hear about the amazing things it can do all the time, but have you ever stopped to think about how this stuff is actually, built? Turns out, it's a massive real-world puzzle involving government deals, incredible amounts of power, and some really intense debates about the code itself. And it all boils down to one huge question.
And this is really the question of the moment, isn't it? The AI gold rush is in full swing, but who's actually digging the mines and laying the tracks? Is it governments making big strategic plays? Is it tech giants creating entirely new kinds of infrastructure? Or is it the researchers themselves tinkering away at the code? Today, we're going to look at all three. And we're going to kick things off with a pretty wild story where national strategy and corporate survival slam right into each other. We're talking about the US government maybe, just maybe, becoming a huge shareholder in the chip industry. Check out this number, $10.9 billion. That's the staggering amount of funding Intel is supposed to get from the CHIPS Act to bring manufacturing back to the US. But honestly, the real story here isn't just the cash. It's the very controversial way the government is thinking about handing it over. So here's the deal on the table. The government would basically buy about a 10% stake in Intel. In return, Intel gets that CHIPS Act money fast-tracked to save a huge manufacturing project in Ohio that's been stuck. But the bigger picture here is that this isn't just about Intel. This could totally rewrite the rules for how the government deals with other huge players like TSMC and Samsung. So as you can probably guess, this whole idea has kicked up a ton of debate. Is this a brilliant strategic investment to secure America's future in tech? Or is it the government throwing a whole lot of taxpayer money at a company that might be in trouble? People are very divided. On one side, you have critics like Nick Gillespie over at Reason magazine. He's calling it a pay-to-play system, where the government is just picking winners and losers, and he argues that's the exact opposite of the permissionless innovation, that freedom to just build stuff that made the tech industry what it is. And the Wall Street Journal's editorial board is pretty much singing the same tune, calling it corporate statism. Their whole point is, if you look at history, when politics gets this tangled up in a company, it usually just slows down innovation and scares away smart money. So here's the two sides in a nutshell. The supporters are saying, look, this is a lifeline. We need to accelerate a super important national goal. And hey, the government gets a piece of the action for its money. But the critics are firing back, saying, whoa, this is a dangerous pay-to-play system that's just going to kill innovation, and we're using public money to bail out what they're calling a sinking ship. Okay, so the race to build better and faster chips is definitely on, but making them and then running them creates this other gigantic problem. All those chips running 24/7 in huge data centers, well, they have a crazy appetite for one thing, electricity, and we are starting to hit a wall. To put it simply, AI's thirst for energy is just unquenchable. The demand is shooting up so fast that our current power grids just can't keep up. In fact, the energy watchdog for the US Northeast came out and said their grid is already tapped out. They're even suggesting that new data centers should have to bring their own power source to the party. So, if you have to bring your own power, where do you get it? Well, one of the biggest ideas being floated is this: the small modular reactor, or SMR. You can think of it as a whole new kind of nuclear power. These things are way smaller than the giant plants we're used to. They can be built in a factory, shipped to a location, and installed. That makes them a whole lot more flexible and, hopefully, a lot faster to get up and running. And hey, this isn't some sci-fi dream. It is happening right now in Tennessee. A company called Kairos Power is building a demo SMR. The Tennessee Valley Authority, which is actually a federally owned utility, has already agreed to buy the power in a big partnership with Google. So the electricity will go to Google's data centers, and whatever's left over just goes back to the public grid. It's a pretty brilliant model for how this could all work. The CEO of the TVA, Don Muehl, he's not mincing words. He sees this as way more than just a fix for Google. He thinks this is a model for the entire country's energy future. For him, in this new age of AI, nuclear power is the bedrock. Okay, so we've got the chips, we've got a potential solution for the power, but what about the AI models themselves? This brings us to a really fundamental debate about how we should control or maybe even tame this incredibly powerful new technology. So first, let's look at the AI as a helpful sidekick approach. A great example is Grammarly. They just rolled out a bunch of new AI tools specifically for students. They do things like find your citations, guess how a reader might react to your paper, and give you expert feedback. The whole point here is to help the user, to make them better, not to just do the work for them. And this quote from Grammarly's head of education, it just nails their whole philosophy. The idea is to build AI with guardrails, to make a tool that actually helps students learn how to use AI the right way, which, let's be honest, is going to be a crucial skill in the workplace. Now let's do a complete 180. What happens when you take an AI model and you rip out all those safety features, all the guardrails? Well, an AI researcher decided to find out using an open source model. And the results were, well, they were startling. By getting rid of what's called alignment training, the researcher, Jack Morris, was left with a totally raw, unconstrained model. And as he put it, it would now tell him how to build a bomb or plan a robbery. It just became a pure word prediction machine with absolutely no concept of right, wrong, or safety. So right here, we see the two paths, crystal clear. On one side, you have AI as a guided partner, built to make us better inside a safe system. And on the other, you have AI as a completely raw, unfiltered tool that explores the absolute limits of the technology, for better or for worse. This is the big debate over AI safety, playing out right in front of us. And that brings us right back to our big question. From the government deciding which companies get billions, to tech giants building nuclear reactors, to researchers deciding whether to put guardrails on AI or let it run free, who is it that gets to set the rules for this revolution? It's a question that connects the silicon and the chips, the power in the grid, and the code itself. And it's one that sooner or later we're all going to have to answer.